Iran's onslaught has been regional. They haven't just targeted Israeli cities and US bases, they've also hit the Gulf Arab countries, and their goal was simple: impose significant costs on the Gulf states and force them to lobby Donald Trump for peace. But turns out the opposite may be happening. Let me show you a new report. It says the Gulf countries are asking Trump to not stop the war. They're asking him to not stop the war. They want the US to keep hitting Iran. The question is why? Before the war, the Gulf states advocated for diplomacy. They did not allow the US or Israel to use their airspace against Iran. So what has changed in these 2 weeks? Simply put, war happened. Iran has been relentlessly targeting the Gulf states, their oil facilities, their shipping ports, even their civilian sites like hotels. In total, more than 2,000 missiles and drones have been fired at the Gulf. Plus, Iran is choking their financial lifeline. Energy is the mainstay of the Gulf economy. Most of them export oil and gas via the Strait of Hormuz. But with the strait blocked, their business is at stake. All of this has enraged the Gulf states. Reports say they do not want a quick truce anymore. They want Trump to keep weakening Iran's capabilities, basically ensure that the Iranian regime cannot hit them ever again. But will Trump listen to them? Apparently, the US wants a quid pro quo. They have a condition. Washington is asking the Gulf states to join the war, either strike Iran directly or open up their airspace and bases. Right now, the US is attacking from sea. Meanwhile, Israel is flying over Iraq to hit Iran. Neither country, neither the US nor Israel, is using Gulf territory or airspace to attack Iran. Defensive use is permitted, offensive is not. That is the status. But will that approach change? Now, just to be clear, militarily, the US does not need the Gulf. They're already doing a good job on the ground. A few Gulf warplanes will not make a difference. On the contrary, they could crowd the battlefield. But politically, the US wants the Gulf to join. It would add much needed legitimacy to Trump's war. The problem is, it's a dilemma for the Gulf. Let's say they join the war against Iran. Then Iran would have an excuse to escalate further, maybe destroy refineries or desalination plants. It could take years, if not decades, to rebuild from that damage. So if they join the war, they will suffer greater costs, which is why these Gulf countries are betting on Trump. They are hoping that the US will do the dirty work, that the US military will dismantle Iran's capabilities. Meanwhile, they, the Gulf nations, can remain on the defensive. No risk, high reward. Again, there's a major problem with this. Trump is not interested in a long campaign. Even yesterday, he said the war will end soon. So there is a possibility that Trump will call things off early, especially if the energy prices rise further. Just imagine where that would leave the Gulf states. Iran's regime still intact, their missiles still powerful, and the US military gone. What if Iran decides to choke the Strait of Hormuz again? What if they continue to rain missiles on Gulf cities? That is the worst case scenario for the Gulf. It also explains why they want a sustained campaign, because they have two choices. One, the fighting ends, but Iran remains a threat. Or two, the fighting continues, but Iran's threat is neutralized. And if these reports are true, the Gulf is betting on option 2. Short-term war, long-term peace. That's what they want. And Iran is aware of this. Look at their foreign minister's recent message. I'm quoting, "Hundreds of Iranian civilians have been killed in Israel-US bombings, including over 200 children. Reports claim that some neighboring states which host US forces and permit attacks on Iran are also actively encouraging this slaughter. Stances should be promptly clarified." So Iran is piling on the pressure. They want Gulf states to remove US bases. Right now, it's a non-starter, but it tells you what the regime is thinking about. They want a permanent end to the US threat in West Asia. The Iranians want an end. They want American bases gone. And this is not just about the ongoing war. There are long-standing fault lines at play. You see, Iran is a Shia Muslim country. The Gulf states are Sunni Muslim nations. So this is not just about oil or security or casualties. This is about reshaping the region. Israel wants a unipolar West Asia dominated by the US and Israel. Iran wants a West Asia where it can project power, and the Gulf states want a stable West Asia without Iran's threats. Once the dust settles, let's see what we get.